Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and do some more buckshot testing, and today we've got a really interesting head-to-head to run with a shell that is surprisingly cheap but has given us some very solid patterns so far in our testing for what they are. But we're running them through two chokes head-to-head that a lot of you guys have wanted to see us test side by side, so this should be really interesting. There's a chance we see two very nice patterns here today, or there's also a chance that we kind of run into the limitations on what the shell can actually do. We're just gonna figure it out and see which one actually happens first. But for the shells I've got today, I brought out some more of these Rio buckshot loads. These ones are a 12 gauge, 2 3/4 inch, 9 pellet load of double aught at about 1345 feet per second. These are one of a bunch of shells that Adam sent us, so big thank you to him for sending some of these over. But these are definitely one of those cheap import loads, kind of designed to be a general just target load more than anything else. But surprisingly enough, they've given us some perfectly solid hunting results through just regular full chokes so far. There's nothing fancy or special about these shells at all, and here's what one looks like for reference. You can see they're unplated pellets. There's no actual full-length shot cup or wad in there, just a little gas seal base piece under them with a little plastic disc overshot card. So very typical import load style here, but we'll see how this actually performs through our two chokes today and which one may do better with them, or if they just don't work well through either one of them in the first place. But for our setup we're running, I brought out the Remington 1187. This one's got a 28-inch barrel on it, and like I said, we've got two chokes that we're going to be running side by side. Those being these two. These are Kick's Buck Kicker chokes. We've got the Buck Kicker full and the Buck Kicker extra full. They do make a light full as well, but full and extra full are the two we've got. The full measures at 693 for a constriction. The extra full is 688, so a little bit difference in constriction here, obviously. We've tested the regular full version a ton with a lot of nice results. We've done a little bit of testing so far with the extra full, also with good results, but a lot of people want to see these two run head to head, so that's what we're going to do today with these Rio shells and see how they do. But as for today's test, we're running everything the same as usual. I've got both the targets set up side by side down there at 40 yards and the chrono to get our velocity. So let's get you guys a view of those targets. We'll take a shot through each one of those chokes, and we'll see how they actually compare to one another and if these Rio loads actually like those chokes or not. I don't know what we're going to see, but we have potential anyway. So let's take some shots and see what happens. Okay, so quick chronograph look before we check out our targets. We have a boss claim of 1345 for those shells, but we were low 1300s. Very typical double aught buck range for the vast majority of loads out there. Our regular Buck Kicker full gave us 1313, and the extra full gave us 1334. So averaging low 1300s, perfectly adequate for a load of double aught. But did we see two good patterns or not through those Kicks chokes down at 40? Let's go check it out and see. Okay, so here we have our two 40-yard targets side by side. We definitely see some rather interesting results, but it may make sense as we look at these a little more here in just a second up close. On the left, we have our full, which measures 693. On the right, we have our extra full, which is a 688. There's definitely a clear winner here today, although neither one of these is over the top amazing necessarily, but the extra full on the right is a solid buckshot pattern for what the shell is. But first, we will start over here on the left with the Buck Kicker full 693. The white dot was the point of aim. We did have a few of them right at the bottom of it, but as soon as we get outside of that little string across under the white dot, we start throwing stuff down at the bottom left there, another flyer up there at the top left. Just not an overly pretty looking pattern. I think we're going to have a good enough amount of pellets through the core-ish area to do the job, but it's definitely not anything I'm overly impressed with. We have all 9 pellets on the target so we can see the entire pattern. I did measure everything. We're looking at 26 inches tall by about 21.5 inches wide. That is from our farthest pellets across, so that top pellet down to the bottom, and then from the far left pellet over to the far right pellet. Generally, anything sub 20 inches is a really nice looking buckshot pattern. We're not quite there on this one, so nothing too impressive to see here. But now we'll move over to the Buck Kicker Extra Full. It's a 688 constriction. I apologize for the little bit of glare. We're getting to that point in the afternoon. Not much I can do about it, but it's definitely a much tighter pattern. We have the same white dot as our point of aim. We definitely tried to kind of circle our white dot with pellets. We do still have a couple little flyers, maybe those two, like that bottom one and that far right one, and maybe that top one up there, but it's a much more condensed pattern, a little better looking, a little prettier looking. We still have all 9 pellets on the target, and I measured it. We have 23 inches tall and 16 inches wide. So a little bit better than the 26 and 21 and a half we saw with the full choke. So these shells do seem to prefer a little tighter choke, which is interesting because the regular flush factory full choke in that 1187 that we tested these through previously is a 688 constriction. This Buck Kicker Extra Full is a 688. I still think the factory choke did better, but we're starting to see a little bit of a pattern, maybe a little tighter choke. Might be what these like. Maybe 680, 685 we'll have to try and see what happens. But overall, the Extra Full is the winner here today. It's a tighter pattern, it's a better spread of pellets, so that is the winner between these two. But let's throw a couple quick templates up, get you guys a better reference as to how they actually performed over just a blank sheet of paper, and I think it's going to continue to just confirm what we already know, really. So first up here, we have a deer template, front leg at the bottom, and his neck just starts over to the right. I did favor it a little lower than our point of aim since that's where our core seemed to be. We'll give it the benefit of the doubt anyway. We have 5 pellets that definitely would have hit vitals there, with one that may have just clipped him at the bottom left down there. Definitely dead deer capable, no doubt about it. But even if we have that little spot of pellets right there in the middle, judging by how the rest of that pattern looked, I don't know that it would consistently do that. So I still think this is the less desirable pattern overall, even though yes, it would absolutely have done the job. Because now we have our Extra Full Buck Kicker, and we have 7 pellets that would have hit probable vital areas here. We're missing 2. There's kind of one down right in the front edge of the leg down there, and one that's just a little bit above them, I think, behind the template there. Overall, that's a perfectly adequate 40-yard deer hunting combination right there. It would certainly do the job, so not too bad for what they are. They would certainly work for an import shell for sure. And finally, we have a quick coyote template we can reference here. It is pretty close to life size, except we had to cut his legs a little short. Still pretty much the same, 5 pellets or so across the vitals. It would have done the job, but I don't know that this would be my first choice for coyote hunting. At least not with the Buck Kicker Full here anyway. Because here we now have our Extra Full Buck Kicker. We now have a definite 6 pellets that would have hit him. And even though double aught wouldn't be my first choice for coyotes or predators in general, you can see that this is still a little bit better option. You've got that little tighter core area of pellets to work with. So if you wanted to or had the opportunity at a coyote and was deer hunting with these shells and needed to take that shot, seems like the Extra Full is still the better choice overall today. So very interesting results. I think this Extra Full is the winner between these two, at least with these shells. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about these combos right here? Definitely pretty interesting to see the difference. These are a very cheap import shell. They're not loaded great at all, if you will, necessarily. They don't have a full-length shot cup wad in them at all. They're not buffered. They're not plated. It's just pellets in a plastic hull with a little bit of a gas seal base piece under them. That's it. So the fact that we can get patterns like that out of them for an import cheap shell, these are still probably one of the better performers we can get if we consistently see these results with about the same constriction of choke. The factory flush full choke that's a 688 in that 1187 gave us something similar, maybe a little better, but it seems like mid 680s is where these like to be at. This isn't a terrible pattern with the regular Buck Kicker Full either, but it's a little stringy, little all over the place, especially once we get outside that little string of 5 pellets there. So at least with today's comparison with these two chokes and these shells, the Extra Full is the winner, I would say. Now, I would probably want to do more testing, especially since these are a cheap shell, to make sure they consistently pattern like that before I hunted with them reliably anyway. But based on our testing so far, mid 680s worth of choke, it's going to get you something like that pretty consistently. So we're off to a good start anyway. And for what the shells are, they're not terrible. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Rio 3x3 Royal Buck shells? And if so, what kind of results have you seen? Are either one of these a combo you would hunt went with? Or would you prefer a little higher quality, better quality buckshot load for actual hunting purposes? Or if one of these is a combo you would run, which one would you actually choose? The full or the extra full? For me, it's the extra full, but let me know all your thoughts down below. But with that being said, I've got more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, you have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description below if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.